I was a 38-year-old college professor, and I taught art, and I had taken a group of students and my wife, and we had gone around Europe, and we had just done a 3-week tour, and this was the next to the last day. And we were in Paris, and at 11 o'clock in the morning I had a perforation of my stomach. When this happened, the pain was the most acute pain I'd ever experienced in my life, and it just dropped me right down to the ground. And so I'm twisting and kicking and moaning and screaming and yelling around on the floor, and my wife called an emergency, called the desk, and they called an emergency service. A doctor came, and he called an ambulance because he knew what was wrong, and they took me about 8 miles across town to the public hospital, to the General Hospital of Paris, where I was taken into emergency, examined by 2 more doctors who knew exactly what was wrong with me, and then they took me away to the surgery hospital, which was a couple blocks away. And I was parked there because there wasn't any surgeon available to do the surgery. And so there I lay for 8 to 10 hours in that hospital with no medication, no examination, no attention whatsoever, awaiting a surgeon to come. And it's now 8:30 at night. Nurse came in and said that they were very sorry they weren't able to get a doctor for me and they'd get one the next day. Well, when she said that, I knew that it was over for me. I knew that I was dead. The only thing that was keeping me alive was I didn't want to die. I was scared to death of dying because as far as I knew, I was an atheist, non-believer, person who lived for the gratification they could get out of the moment, and like dying to me was like the worst. I mean, next to the pain, dying was the worst thing that could happen to you because it was the end of life and there was no more, there wasn't anything else. But when she said that, the idea of trying to exist for another minute, another hour in this pain, it wasn't worth it anymore. I went unconscious. I probably was unconscious for a very short while, a few minutes probably. And I was conscious again, and I looked, opened my eyes and looked, and I was standing up next to my bed. And I knew exactly where I was and what the situation was. I mean, there was no confusion in my mind. I felt more alive, more real than I've ever felt in my life. You know, people ask me, you know, were you a ghost? I was just the opposite. Very alive. As I'm looking around the room, I see that there's, underneath the sheet on the bed, there's something under the sheet, a body. And so I bent over the bed, the head was turned away from me, and I looked at the face, and it looked like me. But that wasn't possible because I was standing there, I'm alive, I'm great, you know. I mean, I'm more than great, I'm like, you know. And so I tried to talk to my wife.
Can't you hear me?
And
can't you hear me?
You know, she couldn't hear me or see me.
That's not me.
I hear people calling me outside the room, and they're saying to me in soft, gentle voices, "Howard, you got to come with us now. Come quickly. Come out here." So I go over to the doorway of the room, and there's people out in the hallway, and they're the hallway's dank. It's gray. It's not light or dark. It's just gray, and they're all in grayness, and they're men and women. And what they're wearing might possibly be hospital uniforms. And as we walked, they stayed around me and kept moving me on, and it kept getting darker and darker. They were becoming more and more openly hostile to me. First they were sort of syrupy sweet to get me to go with them, and then when I was going along with them, it was like, hurry up, keep moving, you know, shut up. Stop asking questions. You know, they started getting more ugly. And so we get into complete darkness. And I'm absolutely terrified. Because people are very hostile. I don't know where I am. I said, I'm not going to go with you any further. They said, you're almost there. And we started to fight. I was trying to get away from them. They were pushing and pulling at me. And there are now a lot of them. it's real hard for me to talk about, and I'm not going to tell you much about it, just a little bit. Because it just gets too ugly. But initially they were like tearing and biting. Tearing with their fingernails, scratching, gouging, ripping, and then biting. Trying to defend myself, trying to fight them off, trying to get away from them, but it's like being in a beehive, just hundreds of them all over me. And I eventually was just laying on the ground there, all ripped up, pain everywhere, inside, outside, and even harder to bear than the physical pain was the emotional pain of what had just happened to me. The utter degradation. I heard my voice. It wasn't somebody else's voice. It wasn't the voice of God or anything. It was my voice. And I heard it speak, but I didn't speak it. So whether it's the voice of my conscience or I don't know what it was. It was just, but I distinctly heard my voice say, pray to God. And so I thought to myself, I don't believe in God. Pray to God. So I called out into the darkness, Jesus, please save me.
Please, save me.
And he came. He came. First there was a tiny little speck of light in the darkness, and very rapidly got bright. And the light became so bright that if it were in this world, it would have consumed me. It just would have fried me to a crisp. But it wasn't at all hot or dangerous there. The light just came upon me, and he reached down. He was in this light, and he reached down out of this light and gently started to pick me up. And in his light, I could see that I was gore and filth and wounds all over. And I looked like roadkill. And he's gently putting his hands underneath me and very tenderly picking me up. And as he's touching me, everything just goes away. All the wounds, all the pain, all the dirt, it just kind of like evaporated away. And I'm like whole and healed. And inside, just filled with his love, which I wish I could be more articulate about. It's so frustrating not being able to tell people about it because, you know, it's the best thing that ever happened to me in my life. I mean, it's like it's the everything. You know, it's the all of life is to know that love. And, you know, I get to it and I just can't describe it. I can't convey it to you. And he's carrying me out of there. Up we just go. Out. Gone. And we're moving towards a world of light, and we stopped. We weren't in hell, we weren't in heaven. We were in between. And we stopped, and we began to converse, and he was talking and telling me things, and he brought over some angels, and we went over my life from beginning to end. What they were trying to convey to me in a nutshell was my whole purpose of my existence had been to love God, love my neighbor as myself. That's why I had been created. That's what I was in this world to do and to learn. And I had failed. They told me that I had to come back to this world. And I got real upset because I wanted to go to heaven. What they told me about heaven, it's like the most fun, most interesting. I mean, it's the most wonderful place. I mean, everybody would want to go to heaven, and I wanted to get there. And they said that I wasn't ready, I wasn't fit, that it wasn't my time to go to heaven. I told them, Jesus and the angels, that I couldn't live in this world without them. So they said, if I prayed and confessed my sins to God, and gave what I had, and what they meant by what I had was gave my worries, my cares, my hopes, my dreams, just gave it all up to God. That there would be times when they would be there, I would feel the love like I'd felt it then. And I believe that one of the reasons God gave me this experience so that I would have an opportunity to share it with someone. I don't know who, I never know who, but I would have the opportunity to share it with somebody so that it could be of help to them. You can feel Jesus' presence with you, like today, in this place, in this